The Cottage is a 2008 release British comedy horror directed by Paul Andrew Williams.
Kind of falls into the genre where it doesn't start out as a horror film, but then turns into a bit like From Dusk Till Dawn. So yeah, it's a tale of two brothers played by Reece Shearsmith and Andy Serkis. At the start of the film, they arrive at a cottage and they have a kidnap victim in the boot of their car. He turns out to be I think she's the stepdaughter of a London gangster. Yeah, they just want some ransom money, basically because their mum's died, and one of them wants to buy the other one out of their share of the house. Quite a boring reason to try and extort money out of somebody, but it is what it is. It's quite
mundane.
Yeah, quite a mundane. Well, I guess it makes a nice change to be an ordinary, boring crime.
Yeah.
For an ordinary, boring reason. But Andy Serkis' character. I think he works for this gangster in his club. His office is above a strip club, as is the norm for any gangster that works in London. Apparently, the kidnap victim is played by Jennifer Ellison, who probably most famous for being in Brookside, which is a UK soap. I don't think it's not going anymore, but she was in it for a few years back in the early 2000s.
Liverpool.
Yeah, she's from Liverpool, and she's like the most irritating, obnoxious kidnap victim ever. Yeah. And doesn't take any crap from these two, who are, particularly Reece Shearsmith's character. He's just a normal guy who just obviously he just needs some money. He's completely out of his depth. And even Andy Serkis is while he's obviously a bit of a heavy kind of for this gangster, he's still not really he's not a hardcore criminal or anything.
No.
As you can imagine, as it's a comedy and as these guys aren't hardened crims, the plan goes spectacularly wrong, and she escapes, and I think her stepbrother is in on it as well, and he's a complete idiot. Messes it up even more, and they find out where they are, and they send some other heavies to come and kill them, and it then changes when they they come out of the cottage and stumble across a farm where there's a psychotic, disfigured farmer who just wants to kill everything in sight. Yeah, I mean, he has kind of his own little backstory going on, which is shown briefly through newspaper cuttings and photos and things like that. Quite a sad tale. A little bit of sympathy for him, but then when he starts cutting bits off people, you kind of lose that sympathy. And when you see all his dismembered heads and things all over the place, it kind of loses your sympathy. So yeah.
Well, obviously it's Halloween. It's the month of Halloween, and we're choosing Halloween-based films. And we've stayed Britain.
Yeah,
we've stayed British. So all the ones we're doing this month are British, which you may have worked out by now, seeing as the first two are British, and this one is British as well. So probably the last one will be British too. Who knows?
Chances are good.
They are. And I thought, Cottage, which one's that? And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, not that one. What are you doing that one for? There's hardly any horror in it at all. Because we watched it in the cinema.
We did.
And when we saw it in the cinema, I did not like it.
No, I wasn't sure if you'd remember or not, because it was obviously a long time ago.
But I'm going to. So I watched it again, it wasn't as bad as I remember.
I think
it
you
to
were
be.
unfairly harsh.
I think I probably was unfairly. I mean, I still didn't. I mean, it's an interesting concept. I mean, first of all, it's by. The director made a really great debut film, London to Brighton, which is a really good film. And if you haven't seen that, I would recommend going and check that out if you haven't seen it. Slight turn for him on this one, and you've got Reece Shearsmith obviously in there from League of Gentlemen, and Andy Serkis, of course. Who doesn't know Andy Serkis?
Like king of mocap, basically, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Obviously, Gollum, Lord of the Rings, and
King Kong,
and the
Planet of the Apes.
He's just done. He's done his own version of
Jungle Book.
Yeah. He's a great actor. I mean, I remember seeing him years ago. He was in a Mike Leigh film called Career Girls, back in the early 90s, and he kind of turns up as a kind of obnoxious. Chauvinistic. They're looking for a flat to two women, and one of them's looking for a new flat in London, and he's the current owner of the flat, and he kind of shows up at the door in just a dressing gown, and he's basically on the pull, everything in a skirt, and he's very funny in that, and I've always enjoyed his performances and things, and he's good fun in this. And even I think I know why I didn't like it before. The reasons are, obviously we came out. I mean, anything like this is going to get compared to Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Because Shaun of the Dead was like the first one that real kind of British humour with horror thrown into it, and so that really was the first one. And loads of films after it came out, and were obviously going to be, compared to it. And so I really like Shaun of the Dead, and when I first saw this one, it wasn't as good for me as Shaun of the Dead. Some of the ideas didn't work, and then I found a lot of the dialogue and the acting kind of, or just maybe the dialogue. I mean, she's very annoying,
but then
she
she's
swears
supposed to be.
too much. She is supposed to be. I mean, I kind of got. I'm a little bit. If you just got swearing in your dialogue, then you don't know how to write good dialogue. But she is supposed to be annoying, and actually,
I think she's also supposed to intimidate them as well. They're supposed to be the ones in control of this situation, and they're clearly not. And she is, not taking any of their crap.
And then of course it goes into this. Well, it basically goes into Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It's kind of Texas Chainsaw, Hills Have Eyes,
again for me that I suppose didn't work because this is Britain, not America, and that's why I think why Shaun of the Dead works so well, because obviously they put zombies in. It was a lot of American films have zombies in, but they made it. It's a very British feeling film. It doesn't feel like a British film that's stamped on American ideas. Whereas to me, this one it just felt too Texas Chainsaw. You've got this guy and he's like got a stitched on face, which is basically leather face. It just didn't feel like it would work in this country. But for this time, I thought I'll go with it, and I'll just enjoy it, and I'll not try and be too snobby about it or anything like that. And just it's got some fun stuff in there. I probably won't watch this again, but it's not terrible, and it's got some quite funny moments in there. And of course, there's also, you've got Stephen Burkoff in there. You don't see him; you just see his voice.
You have to wait until after the credits.
That's right, yeah. And he's, obviously, he's a very famous stage actor in Britain, but he was turned up as a bad guy in Beverly Hills Cop.
Yep.
Back in the 80s.
And he was bad guy in Rambo 2, wasn't it? First Blood Part 2.
That's right, yeah. And then also you got Doug Bradley, from Pinhead himself, and that scene is great. Yeah. I did like that scene. That was a good, almost Hot Fuzz moment.
Yeah, it was a little bit. Yeah.
And then that's why I think that's also because then you've got these like Korean gangsters that kind of turn up as well. And I think at that point, I was like, you're putting too many things in your film, and you're also falling. And again, I think British films like this in Britain can suffer from this. They put too much stuff in, and they almost don't know when to stop. Whereas I think, Shaun of the Dead was quite a reasonably simple idea, and they didn't stuff too much into it. When you've got too much going on, you lose what essentially was a nice, interesting idea. It's a nice little romp.
Yeah, it's fun. It's it's not supposed to be taken seriously, and it's just a silly, fun, comedy horror.
Oh, and if you're a fan of Bottom, also Spud Gun from Bottom turns up.
Yes.
He's the stepbrother to the girl that's been kidnapped. Stephen O'Donnell, I think his name is in real life.
There's also, if you don't like moths, there's a great scene in there. I don't like moths. That's a slow-mo of Reece Shearsmith waving his arms around as he's surrounded by moths. But his fear of moth is kind of integral to the plot as well.
It is, very much so.
But that I loved. Love that bit.
I mean, it's also, again, it feels not as good as, but it feels a little bit Dog Soldiers like that we did.
Yeah, they're kind of stuck in a cottage in the middle of nowhere, aren't they?
Yeah. I suppose if you like things like Shaun of the Dead, Dog Soldiers, all those kind of films, it's worth checking out. Obviously, you have it.
Yeah, I got the DVD years ago, although I hadn't watched it, actually. I had to unwrap it. It's one that sat on the shelf, still sealed for a long time, but I mean, I remember enjoying it the first time round, while you didn't.
Welcome to the bloody countryside. That's quite a nice tagline.
Good tagline.
Actually. It's a good tagline, yeah.
But no, it's it isn't as funny as Shaun of the Dead, but who cares? It doesn't have to be.
Well, I mean, if you like comedy, then you care, and I like comedy, and I like things that make me laugh. And if it doesn't, I mean, I
would agree that maybe some of the laughs rely too much on swearing.
Yeah.
But then I would argue that was the first line in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, but there's...
He uses the C word straight away.
No, he does. He does. But I think there's a...
Maybe it's the delivery.
It is, and I think, I don't want to go too off on this because we've spoken about it before. But again, I think, and it's completely subjective at the end of the day, isn't it? I think, the guys who did Shaun of the Dead, they'd worked together for years. Those guys doing Space, so they knew each other. They're great. They had their own timing going on. They'd honed their skill, and comedy at the end of the day is all about timing. If you're relying too much on swear word, the odd C word can be very funny, but when it's every other sentence, it can get a little bit too much.
Kind of loses the impact.
It loses the impact. Exactly. That's right.
But yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of Texas Chainsaw, but you want some comedy mixed in, well, I suppose you could just watch Texas Chainsaw 2, couldn't you?
You could. That's true.
It's definitely less wacky than Texas Chainsaw 2. That's for sure. It's a fun way to pass 87 minutes.
Of your life. Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's on DVD. I don't think there's a Blu-ray available anywhere that I'm aware of. But yeah, the DVD is not hard to pick up.
So that was The Cottage, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Yep, hit the subscribe button up there, and don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. There's other videos to check out over there. And come and find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and come back next week for another one.